Stu, looking back to 1989, it just seems like maybe the Giants were the perfect motivational matchup for you guys in the World Series, because I take it back to something you told me a while ago, is that even in spring training, meaningless spring training games, you guys, the A's, always wanted to, quote, whoop their butts.
Well, the Giants just happened to be the team that was across the bay and obviously a rival. But we actually wanted to beat everybody up in spring training. It was Tony's theory that you start playing in spring training and making impressions in spring training. And what you do in spring training, even though people consider those games to be meaningless, um, you can place a mark on people's minds that carries over through the season. And I do think that that was the case for the Giants.
Just curious about your two starts in the World Series. Obviously, game one, and you went the complete distance and you shut out San Francisco. You really set a tone for the rest of the games in the series. But there was also game three, which was postponed 10 days after the earthquake, and you guys dominated in that game. I think you went 7 innings, also obviously got the win. Was game one or game three maybe more memorable for you in terms of your two starts in the World Series?
Game one was probably more memorable than game three. I thought I pitched well in game three, but in game one, I think you kind of put the stamp on what you're trying to do as a team. And not only did we beat them, we shut them out. And I don't really feel that I was threatened in that first game at any point. It felt like it was a cruise game from the first inning through the last out. And I think that that's demoralizing for a team in the first game to get beaten in the way that they did.
Absolutely. All right, let's take it to what was set to be the actual Game 3 at Candlestick Park, October 17th, 1989, 5:04 p.m. The earthquake happens. I'd like you to maybe revisit what happened to you, what you did from the moment the earthquake struck to eventually putting your head on a pillow that night. What did you do the rest of that evening?
Well, I mean, we were in the clubhouse. It was a group of us, and I think it may have been Parker and Ricky, and then we were escorted out because of the earthquake. Once our families were gathered and we realized that we weren't going to be playing, I had personally driven over, so I got in the car, knew we couldn't go across the Bay Bridge. Uh, I was actually surprised we couldn't go across the San Mateo Bridge, so we had to circle all the way down to the Dumbarton. So I came across the Dumbarton. It was a 6-hour drive
Wow.
to get back to the other side. And then, quite frankly, I had forgotten that what we used to call the Nimitz Freeway. I'd forgotten that had collapsed. And so I ended up having to take the streetway. And I started to take the streetway anyway because the traffic was getting pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So I got off the freeway in Hayward and took the streetway from Hayward all the way to the area that I had to pass, which I lived in Emeryville at that time. And so um, driving down through my area, I could see from the street that the freeway had collapsed. My sister lived over in that area as well, and so I was going to check on her. And then when I realized the freeway had collapsed, and I was still in uniform, by the way, um,
Wow.
I got out of the car, and where my sister lived was pretty much right in the middle of where everything was happening with the police officers and the fire department and people that were trying to bring relief the uh, to the trying to get people out. And so at that time, I stayed for maybe a couple of hours to just kind of see what was going on, how I could be of help. And I mean, it didn't come together like that after being there for a couple of hours. then eventually going home and changing clothes, and then coming back is, and just watching people and watching the hard work that they were doing to get rescue people.
Yeah.
I then came up with an idea that maybe I could, get necessities, food and drink, to the people that were there and that were working so hard to get people out, and that ended up being my mission until we went to Arizona.
So to recap, you wore your big league jersey, your World Series jersey, basically all the way home. I don't know what time you probably went to bed. It sounds like maybe 2 or 3 in the morning, and then you went back out to go help people and bring them the supplies that they needed.
Yeah, that was. I was at the site probably until about 2 or 3. Went home,
Wow.
changed, came back.
Oh, wow.
So I actually didn't sleep until about 10 o'clock the next day.
Wow.
Because I immediately got on the phone and started, working the resources and people that I knew to try to get some help out there: food, drink, blankets, whatever was needed.
And you're talking about the specific part of Oakland? Are you talking about the Cypress structure?
That was where the Cypress structure was.
Got
yes.
it. Okay. All right. So 10 days between October 17th and when the actual Game 3 was played. The A's, if I'm correct, went to Arizona for part of that time to somewhat stay fresh. What do you remember about those 10 days?
Well, when we left, and we got it. When Tony said that that's what we were going to do, we knew at that time it was the thing to do, but it had to be determined first that we were going to play.
Right.
And once it was determined that we were going to play, then we took off and we went to Arizona. We went there to get our minds focused on baseball, to make sure that we stayed in shape, both pitching and hitting, hitters with the timing, and we played simulated games. It was competitive. And the one thing you don't want to do, as difficult as it was with everything that was going on at home, because you don't want to lose your edge. You don't want to give up your edge. And I think playing the simulated games and doing the things that we did 2 things. It brought us closer because we were all in the same place for a good piece of our day. And 2, it helped us to really take our mind off of all of the disastrous things that were happening in the Bay, to just relax and do something that we love to do.
Makes sense. And obviously it worked out. Last question here for you, Stu. And maybe I'm reaching here a little bit. Maybe this will be a difficult question for you. But if you had to pick one guy on that 89 World Series team on the Giants side who was the toughest out to get, and this is a team with Will Clark, Kevin Mitchell, Brett Butler, Matt Williams, who was the toughest out to get?
Matt Williams was the toughest out for me. I'm glad he's in Korea playing now, because he would get a kick out of that.
We'll send this to him.
As you remember, yeah, I knew you would. As you remember last year when he was working with us as part of our NBC group, he kept flashing the home run he hit off of me, but never really showed that strikeout that I got off of him, but that I got against him. But Matt would have probably been my toughest out through that series.
What made him the toughest at bat to face?
He had good at bats. It looked like each at bat he was there to battle. I thought that his approach was good for a guy that was considered to be a power hitter. I thought he came to plate with, a good approach on what he wanted to try to accomplish against me. And I think that for most guys it's pretty tough to do, because you're either going to set your mind you're going to hit off a fastball, but my breaking ball and the way I used it, I thought was difficult for hitters to do when you have the kind of fastball that I had. And then my fork ball, I consider that to be an unhittable pitch. And so when you present those three things to especially a power hitter who's supposed to be free swinging and swing for the fences type guy, I thought that his swing was compact, and he had a plan against me, which when he hit that home run, I found out it was to try to make me get the ball up in the zone. And when that happened, he hit the home run.
Well, Stu, you were the MVP of the '89 World Series. I know that stands for most valuable player. I'm here to say maybe most valuable person, too. Thanks for the recollection, bud.
Thank you very much for having me on, Brody.